Hi everyone, we're outside in our greenhouse. It's January 19th and this is Itsy. Itsy is the final level of our worm cafe that we are preparing to take her inside, because I'm finding if we take him inside, it's towards the end of January now. We give her a few weeks inside in constant warmer temperatures. She has had the benefit of half this level, or a third of this level, as you can see, has been with a seed mat, and so it's dry, and I'm sure the warmth has permeated even beyond. So this is very dry castings here, but and I've been feeding in this area because I know it dries out. So I'm pretty sure that a week or two, or maybe 3 indoors, and this level will be ready to harvest. This looks like the end of a leek. They love the roots of a leek. I think it was some Connecticut worms and gardens that told me about worms loving the roots of plants. And so this is my last feeding area. So there's another root. It's actually a root ball with worms in it. So they definitely love those roots. So it is moister down here than it looked like on top, because this is where the food has been. I haven't been adding new bedding for a while to this bin because I do want to harvest it. You see that we have fed these outdoor bins. These are outdoor worm bins. We have fed them maple leaves. So there are a lot of leaf stems in this area that you see I'm just continuing to throw to the one side. What I tend to do is a migration now where the worm castings will all get left on this left side of the bin, and anything that isn't going to sieve out anyway, I'm just throwing it to this right hand side and just trying to get the bin ready to move inside and harvest. I actually like the look of these castings. Like, you can say, well, there's still a lot of cardboard in here, but this bin's been going long enough that now, like I said, maybe, just looking at the state of it, I think it's probably going to take 3 more weeks minimum inside to finish off the castings part. Not these big chunks that I'm throwing to the side, but just the castings that are in between the bigger pieces. That's my goal, is to sieve out those castings and have them available for my seed starting mixes. And we're actually even going to start adding them to the garden. I've got buckets and buckets and totes of castings being saved up to add to all our raised beds, so that they can start worms and all. We're going to add them to our raised beds, and so the worms will any worms that are caught up in the castings will continue to do their good work in our vegetable gardens. Oh, you can see some lobster shell. This bright orange is leftover lobster shell. Didn't realize that this bin was one of the ones that we put lobster shells in. But anyway, so you can see that even though I've been feeding these bins, outdoor chunky material, that, the worms have still produced great castings, and they will, once they're inside, they will be able to work 24 hours a day to finish them up. So there's a lovely, lovely big one on the top there doing the play dead thing. Oh, there he goes. I love red wigglers that they, you think, oh my goodness, have I hurt that one? And you just wait long enough and they always start moving. It's amazing. They're really good possums at playing dead when you move them. On that note, I am pretty darn sure when I first got my worms almost a year ago, I had a lot of blue worms. And I don't see the blue worms anymore. Perhaps it was the summer heat, because, we had 40 degrees here in Victoria, very uncharacteristic. Perhaps it was the fact that I moved these bins outside, and I know the bedding got down to maybe 8 degrees Celsius at night. I don't think, I might have got a little even colder than that a few nights before we got the seed heating mat. So maybe that's why I don't see blue worms anymore. But the reds don't seem to have had a problem at all continuing to work in these greenhouse conditions through the winter. So I will take this level indoors now. My sleeve is falling down, so I'll probably get worm castings on it. Let me just pull it up. So we're going to take this level indoors. My husband's my carrier, because there's no way I can lift anything like this. I couldn't lift it even if it was empty, in my opinion. Oh, here's an apple. There's a worm in an apple. That's a classic picture. Yeah, I find with apples that you have to break open the skin. Once you've punctured the skin, then they'll be able to get into it better. So yeah, I obviously gave apples as little compost, keep the bin a bit warmer and moist, because like I said, this side with the seed mat did dry out. So I'm finding some remnants of the feedings that I've done. Yeah, I don't think we need to feed them today, actually. I did bring food out for them, but the fact that they still have little apples here, I think that is more than enough, because I want them to start migrating to this side. So I'm not going to cover up those apples just yet in case I find some other really big chunky material as I'm turning this over. Like, I am trying to create kind of a migration area that contains, the most of the unfinished bits all at one end. That is the end where the food will also go. And so the worms will be in that large chunky area with unfinished food when I go to harvest this end. And I will start letting this end dry out. So there's a bit of banana peel. So anything that's a bit bigger, come on worm, you definitely don't want to escape. This is still a colder greenhouse. I'll tell you, you'll be happier here. We're going to move you inside. So there's some avocado. Always going to find avocado peel unless you put it in your blender. Unless you pulse it up, you're always going to find avocado. And they seem to really like crawling in the skins and using them for little houses or something. So anyway, I'm just loosely tossing this. Any big bits going over here to the right. Come on, in you go. There you go. So loosely tossing it around. I've got a lot more worms in this level than I have in the level that I am replacing it with, which is Teeny with the toilet paper. He's been indoors getting finished up, and it didn't take a long time, but I did notice that I didn't have as many worms in that level. This level, the Itsy, spent several months as the bottom level of the worm cafe, so it was quite moist. So what we did is we stirred in, this would be a few weeks ago, we stirred in a few handfuls of our powdered dried leaves, and we'll do that again once I get indoors with this. I won't feed this obviously until I harvest it now, but I will give it a dose more of that powdered leaf mixture and once we're indoors, and that should help these castings do a final drying out. And I will leave the sides, I would say it's 5/6 of the bin that we are going to leave with no plastic on top to just dry out a little bit. Now, the downside about taking these bins indoors, this will be my fourth one that I take inside, because we took one of our can of worms levels in. It is still in the process of finishing. The downside is you get bugs, and you know, we've had little white flies that fly out of the bin, and that, you know, is an annoyance. They don't seem to be lasting in our home, like laying in our house plants and propagating, but they definitely do. When you first take this bin indoors, we definitely see quite a few dozens of them over the first few weeks fly out, and so that's a little bit of an annoyance, but we did buy a light that hopefully will reduce that. So lots of happy, healthy worms in this level. I'm really excited to take Itsy inside and get these castings finished. Lobster shells may end up in our garden because those are getting to be pretty tiny pieces. So that's okay. It's all good. All right. Take care, everyone. See you in the next video.